you by the City Government of Addis Ababa Education Bureau in collaboration with Addis Media Network. This is English for grade 6, and I'm your teacher, Miss Knight. Hello students, how are you? I hope you're doing great. Today we're going to start our new lesson with the topic or the first tense, which is simple present. All right? What do I say? Simple present. That is our today's lesson. I'm sure you'll find out important points to catch up. So, after this lesson, you will be able to identify what simple present is, all right? You can write the form of simple present, and you can tell when and how to use simple present. Clear? Wonderful. Let's go. Simple present. Okay. Simple present, or sometimes people call it present simple. All right? This is the first tense that we are going to start or to see today, and later on we will catch up to the other or the rest lessons. Let us see some sentences on simple present, and we will come up to the form. Okay? Look. She works in the clinic. Another one. They ask a question. They asked a question. One more. Tom talks loud. Okay? One last sentence. Paul and Peter walk slowly. All right, let us see these sentences. The first one, she works in the clinic. They asked a question. Tom talks loud. Paul and Peter walk slowly. These are sentences that are written on our first tense, which is simple present. All right? So, let's come up to the form of simple present, and we'll try to see some differences that we have on the verb, okay? Wonderful. Let's go. How do we start our sentence? Look, here is she. On the second sentence, they. On the third sentence, Tom. On the last sentence, Paul and Peter. What are these to our sentence? They are subjects. Very good. So we begin our sentence with a subject. Subject, okay? Plus, let's go. Then, what do we have after the subject? Look, works, don't forget this S, ask, talks, here again we have S, and walk, okay? So, what kind of verb are we having? Verb 1, very good, subject plus verb 1, or what we call base verb, and then we come with object or complement. Object or complement. Okay? Subject plus verb, which is verb 1, the type of verb, verb 1, plus object or complement. Now, let us see, I told you to focus on some words on our verb, right? Look at the first one. She works. But here, they ask. So, what do you think is the difference? What do you notice? Look at the third one again. Tom talks. But when it comes to Paul and Peter, it is walk. Can you notice the difference? Let me give you 2 seconds. So what do you see? Yes, we have what? S on some verbs. Why do you think is that S added? Let us notice. Look, the first one. She works. Our subject here is she, which is what? Singular. Very good. But when it comes to the second one, it says they, which is what? Plural. Let's go. Our subject on the third sentence is what? Tom. Tom is the subject, which means he, right? So the verb adds S. But here on the last sentence, we have Paul. Of course, he, which is singular. But Paul is not the only subject, right? We have also Peter, right? So Paul and Peter, plural, which means they. For that matter, we don't need to add S. So when do we add S? We add S if our subject is singular. Look, let's see. I, which is first person, we again, okay? Then you, second person. Then she, yeah? He, it, they. These are the possible subjects that we can have in a sentence, okay? On the first person, which is I and we don't need to add any S. So we simply use verb 1, do, okay? But look at this. You, the same thing, do. Or, which means if your verb is walk, it remains what? I walk, we walk, you walk, right? Let's come here. She. This time it is a third person. That means myself and you, we are talking about somebody else, third person. And that somebody else is singular, all right? For that matter, we make it does. Which means if you are using another verb, for example, I walk, we walk, you walk, but when it comes to she walks. All right? Let's go. The same is true with he. Look at here. Tom, a boy. So our verb needs to add what? S. So he, again, does. How about it? We're talking about a single animal, pet animals, or objects, materials, or this pen by itself. It's singular. Plus it's a third person, so we need to use what? Does. Again, they. They is also a third person, but it is plural. As you can see here, I am talking to you about Paul and Peter. Paul and Peter, since it is they, which is plural, we don't need to add S or ES. It remains what? Do. Okay? So these are the cases that we need to add S or ES. I am sure you know when to add S or when to add ES or IES, right? Let me remind you few seconds, okay? For the verbs that end, look, verbs or words that end by S, SS, or what we call double S, CH, SH, all right? O, X. For such words, yes? Yeah, we add what? ES. Let's see, for example, in the case of a verb, finish. Finish. It ends with SH. So, what do we need to do? We need to add ES plus ES. So, it becomes what? Finishes. All right? It becomes finishes. How about watch? Our last sound is what? CH, ch sound. So we need to add ES. It becomes what? Watches. So I want you to remember these words. For example, O, which is common. For example, we have go by itself. Or as we have seen here, do, yeah? Go. It ends with the alphabet O. So we make it what? Goes. There are also verbs that I want you to remember that add IES. What kind of verbs are they? Verbs that end with Y. Look, verbs that end with Y. But there are two forms here. One, look, consonant, then Y, and vowel, then Y. Okay? For the verbs that end with consonant and then Y, like for example, cry, when you see the word cry, the verb cry, we have what? R before Y. And R is what? Consonant. For that matter, we need to cancel Y and change it into I. Then we add what? ES. So it becomes cries this way. But if your verb has got a vowel before the last sound Y or Y sound, okay? For example, look, play. This is a common verb, yeah? Play, we have Y here, but before Y we have what? A or A sound, yes? So how do? We don't need to cancel it, we don't change it, we simply add place, S, okay? So when you add S or ES or IES on the singular subjects, I want you to remember how to add S, ES or IES in this form. So this is all about the simple present, okay? Subject plus verb 1 plus object or complement. The second step is when do we use it? When? Let's talk about when we use it. The first one, general truth. General truth. Okay? What do we mean when we say general truth? Which means a fact which is accepted everywhere you go. Right? Everywhere you go. For example, when you mix hydrogen molecule with oxygen, wherever you ask or wherever you go, it gives what? Water. That's true, right? So such sentences are called general truth. All right? Let me show you some examples here. Look. The sun, yeah? The sun rises by the east. The sun rises by the east. Look, wherever you go, wherever you are, the sun first comes out, or the light of the sun first comes out by the direction of, very good. So that is what? General truth. The reverse is true, yeah? Which is the sun, yeah? The sun sets, yeah? By the west. Here we go. The sun sets. If you notice, I am adding S on my verb. Why? Because my subject is singular, which is what? The sun. In pronoun, it is replaced by it. We said it needs to add S. So, the sun, instead of rise, rises. The sun, instead of set, we say what? Sets. That is the first purpose of simple present for general truth. I'm sure you can give a lot of examples with this one. Let's go to the next one. The next one, habitual action. Habitual action. Habitual action. What do we mean when we say habitual action? It means habit. Yes? A habit. A habit means something that you do more than once. Something which is repeated. It can be repeated once in a while, once in a year, once in a millennium, all right? Once in a week, once in a day, or more than one times in a day, in a week, in a month, whatever, all right? How do we know if a sentence is habitual action is now the question. How do we know if our sentence is habitual action? Well, let me show you an example. Look, I always walk on foot. Look at this sentence. It is habitual action, and I will show you how or why. She visits her grandparents once a week. Another one. another one. Let's say a baby, all right? A baby goes to the library every 3 days. Here we go. Now look at these sentences. The first one, I always walk on foot, which means I don't use vehicles, right? The second one, she visits her grandparents once a week. A baby goes to the library every 3 days. These are sentences that are examples of habitual action, or what we call habits. All right? Let us see now. I always, look at this word, always. What does it show? Yes? It shows 100%. All right? 100%, which means every day, 7 days in a week, 30 days in a month. All right? I always walk on foot. She visits her grandparents. When? Once a week. It can be Saturday, so every Saturday. It can be Sunday or every Sunday. A baby goes to the library every 3 days. You see? A baby goes to the library every 3 days. He go now, and then after 3 days, he go to the library again. So, these words, every 3 days, once a week, always, these are adverbs of time that can show us how often an action is repeated. Okay? So, let me remind you some common adverbs that can tell you that your sentence is habitual action. One, as you have seen here, always. Another, sometimes. Another, often. Another, never. Seldom. Yeah? Seldom. Frequently. Rarely. All right? Usually. Every some days. Every Sunday, every Monday, yeah? Every 2 days, every month, etc. These are adverbs of frequency that can show you what? The action is a habit, or what we call habitual action. So, whenever you see these words in your sentence, obviously, the verb needs to be what? The verb needs to be verb 1, okay? Don't hesitate to make your verb 1 when you find such adverbs in the middle or at the end of your sentence. Clear? So far we have seen 2 purposes. One, general truth. Another, habitual action. Let's go. All right. The third one, schedules, timetables. All right? Look, we use it for timetables. Timetables. Or what we call schedules. Schedules means what? It can be either a present situation or in the past. It doesn't matter. But if it is a schedule, all right? If it is a schedule, for example, we have schedules on bus stations, all right? Every bus has got a time when to arrive where and when to depart from where, all right? So these are what we call schedules, train schedules. When you go to the airport, you find out different schedules, okay? When an airplane arrives from somewhere to the country, or when it departs from our country, okay? Let's come to you in your school. You have got schedules. For example, today you learn something, and tomorrow, for example, tomorrow, first class, you know what you learn, second class, third class, and so on. These are what we call schedules. So whether your schedules are about present or future, you need to use what? Simple present. Let's see it in an example. Okay. The plane The plane arrives at 3:30 p.m. Look at this. The plane arrives at 3:30 p.m. We have a schedule, 3:30 p.m. It is what? Arrival time. Another one. We have, or we learn, let's make it learn, to make it clear. We learn mathematics or math tomorrow, third period. Third period. Look, even in this sentence, we are talking about tomorrow, which is future. But since it is a schedule, okay, because how do we know it's a schedule? It says what? Third period. So these are some of the uses that we use simple present for. Let me remind you. The first one for general truth activities or universal truth. The second one, habitual action. The third one for schedules. Don't forget another action. For example, the fourth one, an action that happens at the moment of speaking. An action that happens. I didn't say happening. I said what? That happens. All right? That happens at the moment of speaking. What do we mean? For example, I am speaking now. Yes, I am teaching. That is a long action. In the middle, when something short happened, for example, look. I drop what? The pen. I drop the pen. That is what? An action that happens on the moment of speaking. It needs to be what? Short action. The teaching and learning activity is long. That is continuous. But if something happens in the middle, it is what? Short action. So simple present. For example, I drop the pen down. The pen down. Okay? Or look, I am now talking, right? What happened? Yes, very good. That is what? Simple present. A short action, yes, that happened in the middle. Or, for example, when you talk with a person, somebody might yawn, like, oh, that is what? Simple present. A short action that happened in the middle. For example, or let's say, she sneezes. She sneezes. She sneezes now. Or she sneezes now, yeah. That's what I did first, right? Hex. That's sneeze, yes? Or you can say what? He yawns. He yawns in the class. That is another. An action that happens, not that is happening, but that happens at the moment of speaking. These are the four purposes when we use simple present. Let me say it again. General truth, habitual action, yeah? The third one, schedules or timetables. And the other one, an action that happens on the moment of speaking. These are the purposes when we use simple present. So far, we have seen some points that I want to remind you. One, the form of simple present, which is subject plus verb 1, right? Good. When we say verb 1, I also say what? Yes, there are times that we need to add s or es or ies on our verb. When is that? When the subject is singular, all right? When the subject is singular. And I showed you when to add s, es, and ies, right? Don't forget that. Let us now see how to make it negative. How do we construct negative sentences on simple present, okay? Very good, follow me. This is the structure that we need to follow. Look, subject plus, now, on the first one, we said verb 1. That means we don't have an auxiliary here. So when there is no auxiliary, plus it is a present action, we use the verb do, okay? Then plus not, then verb 1, and object or complement. Now, remember the rules that we have seen earlier. Look, I don't play a piano. I don't play what? A piano. The subject is I, so I make what? Make it negative. I don't play. I don't play a piano. What if our subject is she? With the same sentence. Yes? Remember the rule. We are using what? Do. Right? So, if our sentence is singular, instead of do, we add on do, it comes what? Do, then es. We have to make it what? We have to make it plural verb. Look, she, then, instead of don't, doesn't. She doesn't. Now, we used to add s on play, right? But this time, we add it on do, so we leave it. She doesn't play. We don't say plays, okay? She doesn't play a piano. Let us practice with me, okay? Look, let's say Mark writes a poem. Look at this. Mark writes a poem. Make it negative. I will give you 1 minute. All right. I am sure you said Mark don't writes a poem. Is it correct? No, it's not. Because when we say Mark is what? Singular. So how could we say don't for a singular, right? So what do we need to make it? Yes, Mark. Now, follow me very carefully. Mark, since Mark is singular, we have to use does. Mark doesn't, all right? Let's go. Writes a poem. Look, Mark, doesn't, good, writes a poem. How do you think? Again, it's wrong, right? Because we add es on do here, so we have to cancel this s. The correct one is what? Mark, yeah? Mark writes, again mistake. So, Mark writes. Remember this, okay? If you make doesn't, you have to leave the s on the verb, all right? Mark doesn't write a poem. This is the correct one. Clear? Wonderful. Let's add one more. We learn English every day. I want you to make it negative. Make it negative. We learn English every day. Yes? Very good. Since we is plural, now this time we use do, right? So we don't. We don't. This is negative. Then we don't learn English. English every day. We don't learn English every day. This is how we make it negative. Clear? Very good. Let's go to the third structure of a sentence, which is interrogative or question. Okay? All right. Interrogative sentences. Okay, now we're going to change sentences into question. Remember, still we don't have what? We don't have a helping verb. So the form that we are going to use is do for the singular, including I, do, or does. Don't forget to begin with a capital. For the singular, it is does. Then plus subject plus verb 1 without S. No more S here because we are using what? Does. Okay? Then you will have object or complement, then question mark. Now we're going to practice. Okay? Let me show you one sentence. Okay? Do you visit? Okay? Do you visit Unity Park? Look, do you visit Unity Park? What do we have here? Do, just like the form. Then we goes on to subject, right? So here is our subject, you. Then it says what? Verb 1, visit, and our object. That's how we change it into question. Let's do it together. Okay. Aster lives with her brother. Let's change this one into interrogative or question sentence. I will give you 1 minute. Wonderful. I'm sure you begin by saying do. Is it? No, we don't say do because Aster is what? Singular, which means she. So, does. Does, Aster. Yes? Now, we once add es on do, so we need to cancel this one, right? So what do we say? Does Aster live? Does Aster live with her brother? And then, question mark. Clear? Look, do you visit Unity Park? Do, because the subject is you. Since our subject is Aster, does. Does Aster, now, here it says lives. because it is affirmative. But this time it is interrogative. So we add es on do, so we cancel the s on the verb, okay? Does Aster live with her brother? That is another question. So, how are you so far? I'm sure you're doing good, but let's have one activity together, okay? Activity 1. Okay. Use the correct form of the verb, the correct form of the verb in bracket and complete the given sentences. Okay, the first one. Ayantu never blank, drink is here, okay, soda. This is 1. Ayantu never drink soda. 2. My father not work in the bank. The third one, the boys then, here, the boys call a ride. At the end, here is a question mark. So, these are the sentences that I want you to practice here with me. Ayantu never drink soda. My father not work in the bank. The boys call a ride, question mark. Which means you're going to change this into interrogative, this one negative and this one affirmative. I give you 2 minutes. All right. So I'm sure you have done them correctly. Look at the first one. I want to, never, and then the verb given here is drink. But before drink, what do we have? We have an adverb of frequency which says never. Never shows that the sentence is what? Habitual action, right? Very good. So if it is habitual action, then we use only verb 1. Okay, we are going to use verb 1 here, but let us see the subject. It is ayantu, which means she, singular. So the verb adds what? S. Ayantu never drinks. Ayantu never drinks soda. You see? The second one. My father not work in the bank. Okay? Our subject is what? My father. Again, third person singular, which is he, right? So, how do we make it negative? Do not? No. We say what? My father does not or doesn't. Okay? Since we add es on do, then we simply write what? Work. My father doesn't work in the bank. The boys call a ride. Question mark. We are requested to make what? Interrogative sentence. So how do you do? Good. Since it's the boys, not the boy, okay, the boys means they. So we begin by saying do. Yes? Do the boys, or you can say what? Do they, right? Because once we know it is the boys, do they then call a ride? Then question mark. That is how we use simple present in the 3 forms of a sentence and with the purposes that I have told you. Okay? Simple present or first tense, which has a first type of a verb or what we call base verb, verb 1. It is used to express general truth activities, and it is also used for habits or habitual action. And also we can use it for schedules and for actions that happen at the moment of speaking. I'm sure everything is bright now, right? Wonderful. So this is all what we have for today. And let me give you one question as a homework. I want you to write general truth actions, 2 sentences in general truth, okay? And 3 sentences that are your habits. What are your habits? What do you do every day? Or what is the thing that you never do? 3 sentences, okay? That's all what I have for today. I'm sure I will see you next week with a new lesson, a new topic. We will enjoy it together. Until now,